and basically, for anybody who's not here, it's not mandatory that you have to be in this meeting. So I will post this later on for everybody to see. But you know, I do want to have these meetings every so often. So how's everybody doing so far in the class? Are there any questions so far about the class?
No.
So you know, the first assignment, everybody pretty much did that. You know, we're using Discord. So that's going to be the one way that you can get a hold of me right away is through Discord. And, you know, usually if you have a question, I'll answer right away. And, you know, even if you want to have like a one-on-one conversation, we can do it through Discord. It works really easily in that way. But does anybody have any questions so far then? You know, you saw that, you know, I have that are up already. And so the idea is this class is asynchronous. So do you guys have any other asynchronous classes besides this one? Does anybody else have any, are most of your classes synchronous?
Yes, Professor.
They are, like, you have a scheduled time where you go on the same time every, you know, twice a week, let's say you do a Zoom. Most of you have classes like that?
Mine are asynchronous.
So there's some asynchronous. I think most, I don't know how or why they chose some classes to be asynchronous and some classes not to be asynchronous, but this is the first time that I've taught an asynchronous class. So the idea is the modules are set up and you go through the modules, and as you go through each module, the other modules will get unlocked. So you just can't go through everything all at once. You kind of gradually go through it, but you can kind of go at your own pace. You know, there are deadlines for the projects, but usually with a deadline, you still have 24 hours. So even if you're late, you know, you're not going to get marked down on an assignment. It'll just, you know, show up as late, but you should still try to get everything done by the deadline. Now, you know, I'm going to have these Zoom sessions because I think they do help, you know, to have, you know, some connection in the class. But I think Discord will be helpful as well. So Discord will just let you, you know, ask a question anytime you need to ask that question. So for the assignments, you know, we're going to focus a lot on Illustrator in the very beginning. So if you, and let me do this. Let me just bring up the syllabus real quick. So I'll go into Canvas here. Let's see. So the beginning portion of the class, oops, oh, you know what? I think I forgot to, did I not? It shouldn't say access denied. I have to figure out why that says access denied. Let me see something down here. Well, let me go through this real quick. So, you know, how to reach me, you know, you can through email, through Discord, through Canvas. You can text me if you need to, but I think there's so many different ways to get a hold of me. Discord is almost like the best way. It's kind of like texting anyways. This week is mostly just orientation. You know, the check-in assignment was Discord. So signing up for Discord means that you're in the class. For anybody who did not sign up, that means that, you know, you're going to get dropped. So you know, I saw a couple people, you know, probably about 2 people didn't sign up for whatever reason. And that's like not showing up to class on the first day. So that's a, you know, you could get dropped for that, and they might, you know, they most likely will get dropped. But this week is just like an orientation type week. So everybody, I think, has shared a design so far too. So the idea is to have a kind of a little discussion, a critique, to get used to having critiques. And the critique format is through the discussion section of Canvas. And that's basically just replying. So you're just replying to the discussion, and then somebody else will reply to you for that critique. So tomorrow I'll have all the logos set up, and you can see all the logos that were chosen as favorite logos. And you pick one, and then you just basically say, you know, what you like about it. Don't pick your own logo. You can also say what you don't like about it, but try to give a balanced critique, and then whoever picked that logo can respond if they agree, if they disagree, with your assessment of their logo. But really, the focus is going to be a lot on just design principles and getting familiar with using the design tools that are mostly focused on vector-based digital art. So are you familiar with the differences between vector and pixel-based images? And I talk about it in the modules. What's the difference between the two? What's the difference between a vector drawing and a pixel-based drawing, let's say in Photoshop? Who can tell me the difference? Anybody? So it's in the module. Oh, was somebody going to say something?
Isn't a vector file like one that you can blow up and it'll like sort of resize itself to be like if you had a pixelated one or a pixel image, it would only be able to like be blown up to like a certain size. Like it's like there's a cap on like how big you or small you can make it.
Yeah, so a vector, yeah, that's right. So one way of saying it is a vector image is resolution independent, meaning that there is no set resolution on the vector image. You can make it as big or as small as you want, and it's not going to change quality. It's always going to stay the same quality, and you're never going to have any issues with you know, what you could call like jaggies in the image. So a pixel-based image is resolution dependent, meaning the resolution of the image is going to be affected by the size of the image. You know, the quality of the image depends on its resolution with a pixel-based image. So, you know, vectors kind of lend themselves to certain types of design, you know, where pixels kind of lend themselves to other types of design. So vectors are really great for logos and anything that needs to have like a sharp kind of crisp quality to it. So, you know, illustrations, you know, maybe like graphic novels, things that really have to have that kind of symbol-like quality to it, where Photoshop and pixel-based artwork is great for like concept development, painting, things where you have to blend colors together. So that's a little, you know, with vectors, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to get a painterly effect with vectors. So, you know, for graphic design purposes, you know, a lot of graphic design, when you're developing typography, illustrations, and logos, a lot of it is vector based. So that's why a lot of this is focused on, this class is focused on using Illustrator in the beginning. So, you know, when we start, you know, the focus is really working with symbols, talking about a very kind of basic design vocabulary. And then as we proceed through the class, we get more involved with logo development and typography and page layout. And then towards the end, the focus is more on branding and integrated campaigns, where you can start to use more tools from Illustrator. And then we get into InDesign a little bit too. And we'll talk about how you can like leverage your design. So the great thing about vector artwork is you can bring it into other programs and use it for other things. Photoshop, you can use it for video production, use it for web design. So the vectors themselves, since they're resolution independent, they can be used in many more ways than, let's say, something that's pixel based. You know, if you have like a logo that is made with just pixels, and then you want to take that logo and you want to do some printing with it, well, if it's web-based, you can't really do that, you know, so there's limitations based on the resolution of that. So anyways, you know, we'll talk about typography, combining type and image, color. I'd like to talk about perspective. And when I talk about graphics for the screen, that's when we start to talk about web versus print, and even talking about video-based projects. Long format design is where we talk more about InDesign and using InDesign for multi-page layouts, you know, anything that has a multi-page layout. And then towards the end, we'll talk more about branding and animation, and more of the focus will be on the elements of design, which kind of encompass, you know, everything that we would think about from a design standpoint. So another thing that I like to do is, as we go through the class, have you guys gone through the second module at all? Have you looked through the second module for this class? So, you know, when you go to your home, the home page here, you know, the idea is the modules, you go in order. So the modules kind of correspond to the week of the class in a way, but you can always move ahead if that module is available. So for module 2, that's where we start to look into Illustrator. So who has started to go through module 2 at all? Anybody? Anybody out there? Have you looked through this? So once you submit your logos, you can go ahead and start going through module 2. This is where I'm going to talk about using some of the tools in Illustrator and getting into a little bit of more detail into what vectors are and Beziers are. So the first part of that module is going through a tour of the interface. How many of you have actually used Illustrator before? How many Illustrator users are out there?
I've used it maybe once.
Okay, so have most of you not used Illustrator?
I've used it a few times. I'm not as familiar with it as other Adobe programs.
Okay.
I used it to, yeah,
Okay.
I used it before to create a logo for myself.
Oh, okay. So how many of you use Photoshop? How many Photoshop users are out there?
Yeah, I'm the
a little bit.
Photoshop user.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think everybody is kind of a Photoshop user, but maybe
Yes.
if you're using Photoshop, a lot of the ideas transfer over into Illustrator. So you'll see that a lot of the tools are very similar, and the setup and the layout of Illustrator is similar to Photoshop. But the tools that I want you to focus on in the beginning, and I'm going to switch over to Illustrator.
Professor?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Clip Studio Paint?
Yeah, I have Clip Studio Paint.
Because that's what I use mostly for myself on digital work.
Yeah, I haven't used it that much, but I know there's some really nice features. Isn't it good for like graphic novels?
Yep, that's what I heard.
Yeah, comic books,
some people have said that, like, finish. Do you want to finish?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine to talk about other programs like that. But since you mentioned that, another question I need to ask, did everybody get access to Illustrator?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait,
Because there's a link.
Yes.
Okay,
Wait.
good. So even if you don't have it, you can get access to it. So the first assignment is called Symbols of Protest. Well, I should say the second assignment. It's the first assignment where you're really using Illustrator. So let me talk about that real quick, and then I'll show you a couple things in Illustrator. But since you're new, I have a video from Pete Episcopo. He has a very good video on going through the interface. I did a video on going through the interface as well. So I provide a couple more details that he doesn't provide because he's going through an earlier version. But go through this video and, go through the modules, go to next. It's getting dark out here, so I may disappear a little bit. And then here in this video, I talk about what you see the first time you open up Illustrator in the new version. So it's just to give you some additional details about Illustrator when you open it up for the first time. Oh, geez. And then here I'm talking about the difference between vectors and the components of a Bezier, and a little bit of history on the Beziers as well. So you can go through that on your own time. I'm not going to go through all the details. And then here I talk about the selection tools, and some of my links are broken, so I have to fix that. But then here, the following 3 videos are really important. So I have a video on the pen tool. There's a video on the pencil tool, and then there's a video on the curvature tool. So you're going to use these 3 tools in the first assignment. So since you're all new to Illustrator, these tools are going to be pretty new to you. You might have used the pen tool in Photoshop for making masks and clipping masks. And those videos will go through those tools. I have to fix these links. I don't know. Looks like I've lost, I got some broken links here, but the next assignment is called Symbols of Protest. And the basic idea is I want you to find protest symbols, and I want you to trace over them using the 3 tools that I just featured in those videos. And here you go, these links, for some reason those links are broken, but if you go to this page here where it says more protest symbols, I kind of go through the history of each protest symbol to give you an idea of how these symbols came to be. And then what you can do is you can take these, or you can find protest symbols that you're interested in and use them in the assignment. So there's 3 symbols that I want you to choose, and I want you to use the 3 tools that I just mentioned to trace over these symbols, and then I want you to design your own protest symbol. So the 4th symbol that you create is going to be your own protest symbol. So here is the assignment, and basically if you go through this, it'll basically repeat what I just said. So you're going to create 3 symbols, or you're going to use 3 symbols as templates, trace over them with the tools, and then there's going to be a 4th symbol that you develop on your own. And that 4th symbol, what I want you to do is draw out the symbol, on a piece of paper, then take a photo, bring it into Illustrator, and you're going to basically trace over that 4th symbol, but it's going to be your own symbol that you come up with. And it can really be any symbol. you know, maybe you want to come up with a story about why this symbol has is important to you, you know, in the way you develop it. But this is going to be a symbol of your own creation. So what I want to do is just real quick kind of go through this to kind of show you the process. So if you're pulling symbols off of the web, let's say you go into the symbols that I had here. And let me pick something that's a little complicated. I'll pick the peace symbol. So what you can do is you can right click, you can copy it, and then you can go into Illustrator. Now let me start from the beginning. So I'm going to create a new file. And here in the dialog that opens up, you want to use a landscape image. So click on landscape. You know, over here is a little piece of paper that's wider than it is tall. So this is your landscape layout. And then just stick with letter size. So right now, the measurement.
We can't see what your
oh, hold on.
other, yeah.
I think I need to switch to something else. Here you go. Do you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, let me just kind of start over then. It's weird. It's how Zoom shares the screen. So, okay, I'm going to go back. You're going to go to File. You're going to go to New. You want the layout to be landscape. So I'm going to pick under Orientation, the little piece of paper that's wider than it is tall. And the size is fine. By default, the measurement should be set to points. So from a graphic design standpoint, points are the basic units of everything that you do in graphic design. So if you're a graphic design major, you'll have more projects where you'll be measuring things in points. And there's actually two separate units. There's points and there's picas. So there's basically 12 points in a pica, and there's 6 picas in an inch. If I go into this drop down, you'll see picas here. So if you're ever curious about what these measurements are, these are the units that graphic designers use for design purposes. So if I switch down to picas, you see how the measurements change here. So a letter-sized piece of paper is 11 inches by 8.5 inches. And so here you see 66P0. What that basically means is this is 66 picas, 0 points. So that's the measurement convention that is typically used. So if you're curious about that, that's what those measurements are for. And they are basically measurements that have always been established for printing purposes, basically. And it came out of the development of typography. You know, when metal type was being developed, they were using these measurements. But if you just stick to the default points, you're fine. You know, go to create, and this is the canvas that you're working on. So what I did with those protest symbols is I basically right-clicked, I hit copy, and then you can paste it right into Illustrator, just like that. And basically, I want you to pick 3 different protest symbols that you're going to trace over. So the first one, you can decide, but I want you to use a different tool for each one. So I'll show you the tools and where they are, and then how you can use them to trace over them. So if you look at the toolbar here, here's your toolbar. When you open up Illustrator for the first time, it's going to be a tall toolbar like this, but you can change the arrangement of the tools. So there's 2 little triangles here, and I like to have the double column toolbar. So if you click on that, you get this double column. And the reason I like that is because my swatches are nice and big. So if you have your tools on top, and then these 2 tiles here are your swatches. And the big square with the question mark, that is your fill. And then this square that's a hollow square, that's what's called your stroke. And the way that vectors work, what I'll do is I'll draw out a square with the rectangle tool. You don't see anything right now because what you do, you see the blue outline, but there's really nothing there yet because the stroke has this red diagonal. So that means that there's no color being applied to the outline. So the outline of your shape or the lines that you draw, those are called your strokes. And if you look over here on this control bar, you'll see the stroke here, that stroke setting there, and then under properties, you'll see it here as well. Now, I like to use this toolbar on top, but if you don't see that toolbar, you go to Window and you click on Control, and that gives you the toolbar that goes all the way across on top. So when you watch the videos, especially that one video by Pete Episcopo about the interface, he'll have this control bar on top, but the latest version of Illustrator actually hides it. So you have to actually go to Window Control. So I'd like to have it here because I just like to see that the stroke setting and the tiles are right there available to me. So here, this stroke has a red line. So that red line means that there's nothing being applied. So in order to apply something to this, I basically have to either double click on it. Oops. I can double click on it and this color picker comes up and then I can choose a color, hit OK. And now if you look, it has a black outline because I applied black to this stroke square over here. You know, if I select this, double click on it again, I can change it to a different color. So now it's red. So that's the stroke. The inside is actually white. If I overlap my P symbol, you can see it has this white fill. And if I double click on the square and change the color, that's changing the fill. So you got a fill and you got a stroke. And if you hit the X key on your keyboard, it actually, I'll change the color here. It actually swaps them. It swaps the fill and the stroke. So you can swap between the two. And whatever one is on top is the one that is being focused on at that moment. So the thing about the stroke, this outline, you can change the width by going to this little stroke dialog here and increasing the size. So now I can make that stroke bigger. So all of this is pretty much laid out in the videos that I'm applying to you. Oh my gosh, there's a big spider out here. Anyways, excuse me. Oh, that's a big spider. So let me show you now what I really want you to do for this assignment, because I want you to use the 3 tools, but watch the videos that I have because they go through all these details. So the videos are going to basically repeat what I'm telling you right now. So I brought in this piece symbol, and what I want you to do is I want you to trace on top of it to get used to using the tools. So when you bring this symbol in, it's on your first layer in Photoshop. I'm sorry, in Illustrator. So your layers, if you go to the right, the default area where you find your layers are right here. So you have properties, and then you have layers next to properties. These are your layers. Now, the layers are tiny. So what I recommend, so you can see things a little bit better, there's a menu up in the upper right-hand corner. You click on that, and then go down into panel options, and under other, just make this bigger. So you're going to make that bigger, and now you can see that layer a little bit better. And then the next thing I want you to do is double click on the layer. So you're double clicking on this like blue shaded area. And here, click on template, and then under dim, it basically fades the image. So I usually put like 20. and now it fades it out and it locks it. There's a little lock icon right here. And then the next thing you do is you create a new layer. So you hit this little box that has a plus sign, and then you can zoom in. So you can use your magnifying glass tool to zoom in. You can use, I like to use the shortcuts though. So the hand tool is your moving panning tool, and you can get to that with the space bar. So I can move around like this. And then you can also, if you hit the space bar and hit the option key, you can get the zoom key. And then if you hit, you hit command and space bar, you can zoom in. And then if you hit command option space bar, you can zoom out. So using the space bar lets you move around, command lets you zoom in, and then command option lets you zoom out. And those are really good, a really good combination of tools to use. So I like to zoom in, and then let me go through the tools that I want you to use, because it takes some time getting used to these. And the reason why I want you to try all three is because some of them work better than others, and you'll find that you'll have a preference. So the pen tool lets you basically draw points, and if you just click from point to point to point, you get a hard corner like this. And what's happening is my fill is set to green, so it's filling in. So what you want to do is you want to set your fill to none. And the way you do that is there's this little diagonal line here. You click on that, and then it's set to none. And you can also use the / in your keyboard. It's under the question mark. It does the exact same thing. And then if you click on the stroke, you can double click on that, and then set it to whatever color you want. I'll set it to black. One thing about actually setting to none is you have to click on this little color, the color tile here, and then you can change the color. So now I can go here and set the black. And now I'm drawing with the pen tool. If you want to create a curve with the pen tool, what you have to do is you click and you drag out, and you get these handles. And those are called Bezier handles. So I click and I drag, and I get a handle. I click again once, I get a hard corner. Got a hard corner like this. And then here I have this finger here. So if I want to get that thumb, click and drag to get the curve. And then to end your shape, you just click on the point that you began, and it ends that. With the pen tool, if you draw a line, let's say, and you just want a line, you can hit escape, and then that will let you draw another line. But in order to get like a nice curve, you have to click and you have to drag. And that's how the pen tool works. Once you create like a hard corner, what you can do is you can use this white arrow, and that's called the direct selection tool, to click on a corner. So I hit the little white arrow here in my toolbar, or you can hit A. And these are universal. They also are the same shortcuts you use in Photoshop and InDesign. And if I hit this white arrow for direct selection and I click on a corner, I can drag out that corner and, oops. And there's like a little circle there, and I can grab that little circle, and that lets me create a curve. And that actually creates a nice curve. So if you need to move a point around, you can use the direct selection tool. If you use the black arrow and you try to select something, that grabs the whole object that you created. So the white arrow is for grabbing single points, and the black arrow is for grabbing whole objects. A couple other things to know is when you use the pen tool, there's like these shortcuts with every tool, with the option and command key. If you're on a Mac, and if you're on a PC, it's going to be option and your alt key. But if I hit option and I'm using the pen tool, I can stay in the pen tool and it gives me that direct selection tool. If I hit, if I hit command, it gives me the direct selection tool. If I hit option, that's going to give me this triangle. It's like this upside down V, and that's called an anchor point tool. And you can click and you can drag, and that's going to give you, it's going to take a hard corner and let you drag out the Bezier handles to give you a curve. So all these features of the pen tool I talk about in the video, so it really repeats this. But I'll post this video too, so you can watch it again. And I talk about all these features in the module. So I'm going to move this aside, and I want to show you another tool now. And this tool is called the Curvature Tool. So next to the pen tool is the Curvature Tool. And this tool is nice because you get really nice curves with it. So it's a little less complicated than the pen tool. So with the Curvature Tool, you just lay down a dot, and you lay down another dot, and you lay down a third dot, and it gives you this automatic curve. If you want a sharp corner, you have to double click, and that gives you like a straight line or a sharp corner. So if I double click there, double click again, I get a straight line. But if I click once, I get a nice curve. So using this tool, you get really nice curves. So if you wanted to draw like, almost draw like a perfect circle, let's say, draw a point, draw another point, drag it out. It's not going to be completely perfect, but it's really easy to do that with the Curvature Tool. And the keyboard shortcuts are similar with the pen tool. If you hit, but if you hit option, you can basically get rid of a point. So you can delete your points. Or you can, I think, you can also change from a curve to a hard corner as well. So these are the two of the tools I want you to use, and the third tool I want you to use is the pencil tool. Now the pencil tool is kind of hidden, so what you have to do to get to the pencil tool is you, in the toolbar, you click on these three dots, and the toolbar opens up, and then you go to the menu in the upper right hand corner, click on that, and you click on Advanced. The toolbar has all these extra tools now because you're in this advanced mode. And then if you go right here, there's something called a shaper tool, and the pencil tool is hidden right here. And the pencil tool just lets you do free-form lines. But one of the features is if you draw a line and then you draw on top of it, it lets you smooth it out. Now I turn that off, and that feature is right here called Edit Selected Path. So if you double click on this and you find that it's hard to draw with the pencil tool, turn off that Edit Selected Paths, and then that will let you draw multiple lines basically. So this is the third option that I want you to explore, is this pencil tool. And then the last option is sketch out something, bring it into Illustrator, and then create your own design, and then use all three tools in combination. So you can use the tools in combination. You can use the pen tool, and let me get rid of the line here. So you can use the pen tool like this. And let's say you get to the point where you do have like this curve, then you can switch to the curvature tool. So now I'm switching, and I'm still on that same line. And then I can hit P for the pen tool, and I can go back into the pen tool. You may have to reconnect some points here. And then I can go back into the that curvature tool. So you can use these in combinations. You just have to click on that an open point, an endpoint for a line, to use these tools in combination. So I know this is a lot of information, but once you get used to using these basic tools, you'll be pretty much set for creating all sorts of different things in Illustrator. And this is just kind of going through the basics with those kind of essential tools to get used to. So do you have any questions about using these tools?
No.
Do you guys,
Professor, what is the shortcut for like switching tools while drawing with one?
oh, okay, that's a good question. So I always use the keyboard shortcut. So P is for the pen tool. So here I'm in the pen tool. Shift and tilde. It's the tilde key. It's a little it's like the curvy little symbol underneath the escape key. That brings you into the curvature tool. And then the pencil tool is the keyboard shortcut is N. So N is the pencil tool. And you just got to be aware that the pencil tool doesn't really connect lines together. So what you have to do is go back into the pen tool, and then you can connect these endpoints. So both the pen tool and the curvature tool let you connect the endpoints. But the keyboard shortcuts are P for pen tool, N for pencil tool, and curvature tool is shift tilde. And then also remember your direct selection tool, that's V. So always remember V. That's like one of the most popular keyboard shortcuts in like all the Adobe programs. So in InDesign, in Photoshop, even in like editing for video editing in Premiere, V is the same shortcut to basically just grab and move something. And then A is always the shortcut for grabbing individual points. So you're grabbing the components of a line. So A is just grabbing these individual points. So you can adjust things. You know, that's where you start to adjust things and you make really subtle adjustments to get like, something perfect when you're creating something. There's any other questions? Anybody else? So, so this is the next assignment, assignment 2. Pick 3 symbols. Now, when I do this type of process where I'm creating multiple things in a document, you can create everything in one document if you want, or you can basically create separate documents and then cut and paste them into the final document. When you hand this in, you don't have to hand in the templates, just the final designs. And basically the layout, when you do this, I'll turn off that here. Oh, and let me introduce you to just one more keyboard shortcut. So this is another important keyboard shortcut that you'll really like to use. So when you're using the regular selection tool, this black arrow, if you hit Option and drag, that creates a copy. So Option, drag creates a copy. You'll want to remember this when you start to get into more elaborate designs. Instead of using copy and paste, it's just easier to use the pen tool like this. So the layout is, I want you to have the 3 traced logos on top, and then the one that you design yourself on the bottom like this. So just pretend these are all different, but when you hand it in, this should be the format that you should have.
How how serious do you want the do you want the protest symbols to represent something in the real world, or can they be more creative, not as rooted in real life? Is that a part of the criteria? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, they don't have to be rooted in real life at all. I was trying to figure out before I came onto Zoom, I was just drawing these symbols and I was thinking, well, what would they represent? So I don't know. I was thinking in terms of like the Mars Liberation Front or something, something weird. It doesn't have to be rooted in reality at all. So you can make something up, free the spirits, let's say, a ghost appreciation society, if you want to. So yeah, you make something up. It doesn't matter. It can be rooted in reality. So some people have causes that they're close to and they want to create a symbol for that cause. And other people, they just kind of make something up. And there's going to be a lot of assignments in this class where the focus is making things up in terms of developing your own brand, developing your own logo. I have an assignment that's focused on developing a logo for a fast food restaurant, developing a mascot character for a cereal brand, but you can come up with something that is totally out of your own imagination.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor, so for the 4th one, are we going to create an outline only, or?
Yeah, right now you're really focused on just the outline. So just focus on drawing with the lines. You don't get too detailed on the logo as well. Try to keep it simple. But just focus on the outlines. It's going to be hard right now for you to do a lot of complex work anyways, because there's some features that we have to talk about where you can start to fill in things and create patterns inside of things, but you have to get used to using the pen tool and the curvature tool first before you do that.
Can you show us a little example for the 4th one, the symbol?
Yeah, I have to dig into some, I'll have to find some past assignments for that. Oh, you know what? I think I can, I'll have to look, I actually have to look into that. But really, I just want you to make something up, sketch it out. So in here, I did this video. So if you look in Discord, I have this video here too. And this would be my 4th word idea. I drew this fish, so who knows what the story is, but this is my protest symbol. I was thinking free the fish, save the whales kind of symbol. So yeah, I just kind of sketched it out on a piece of paper, took a photo, and then these are the vectors that came out of it, from using the curvature tool. In the past though, everybody's kind of done all sorts of different things. So some people do make things up, some people are focused. I kind of gave this assignment the first time last term, well actually winter term, when the Hong Kong protests were happening. And umbrellas were really popular, right? You saw a lot of people protesting with umbrellas, but there wasn't like a protest symbol yet. And I don't think there is a protest symbol, for that movement. But the umbrella would have been represents it. It would have been perfect, right? So, finding an image of an umbrella or drawing an umbrella and creating that outline of the umbrella would make an interesting protest symbol. I mean, what are some examples? You try to give me some examples. What do you think would be a good example? Think of some recent protests. What are some recent symbols that you see? Like anybody?
The BLM hand.
Yeah, what is it?
Better?
It's like the fist, right? It's like a raised fist.
Yes.
So that's a good one, right? Developing that into a symbol. What are some other ones? Some other ones that you can think of.
This isn't like a symbol that's being used currently, but like goggles for like the gassings, like people are doing that to protect themselves. So
yeah, like a gas mask, right? Yeah, against like tear spray. So that's a good one. I was thinking even too like a regular mask, like an protesting an anti-masker, let's say, would be a good one. But you think right now in terms of like politics, there's probably all sorts of different things you can come up with, but again, it doesn't have to be rooted in reality. But go through the modules, and I do talk about different symbols and how they were developed. So a lot of these symbols have a history. The anarchy symbol is coming from this idea that anarchy is order. So you have an A and an O. Peace symbol actually stands for victory. So the two fingers is a V. So it was coming out of World War II. The Black Panther symbol, it's pretty kind of straightforward, in terms of what they created with that. This is like a Christianity religious symbol. The other symbol that I talk about is the anti-war, anti-nuclear symbol, the other type of peace symbol, which is the line and the circle. And for some reason, let me see. So let's see. So these links got broken. I'll have to fix this, but let me see something. Let me do this actually. So I can go through this real quick. So here is the peace symbol, but the peace symbol was developed out of something called semaphore. Semaphore is using a flag, two flags to each flag in combination is a character in the alphabet. So the two flags down, like left to right, and the two flags up and down. This first flag is an N, and this second set of flags is a D. So N and D stand for nuclear disarmament. So when you see the peace symbol, it's actually representing the position of these flags for semaphore and the N and D for nuclear disarmament. So that's how that symbol came about. So I mean, yeah, there's all this history to it. The reason that I'm starting with symbols is as we talk about logos and typography, the evolution of design was born out of symbols. The language was born out of symbols. How we communicate is born out of symbols. So it's really important to think about symbols and their meaning. And what's interesting about symbols too is, many times they're very simple and they're just outlines. So that's why they're kind of great for practice with the pen tool and the curvature tool. You know, some aren't. You know, some are filled in, but they're, you know, pretty much simple, very simple in terms of their design. You know, they have to be easy to read. You know, they can't be confusing, and they have to be really to the point. So, you know, there's a certain type of way that we interpret symbols, and we don't even think about it. When you see a peace symbol, you know what it is. It's ingrained in the culture, you know, and that's how symbols actually become letter forms at a certain point. So, are there any more questions about this?
We have access to these this document. Is it on our canvas with the symbols, or is this something you were sharing?
This is I took this was a PowerPoint that well, it's a Google Doc, but I can send you the link. But this is on Canvas as well in the module. So
Okay.
module 2, I basically took this and I brought it into module 2. So yeah, this is there. And there's one more thing that I think would be helpful. If you go into the assignment itself, let's see. There's a link to an article here. Oh no, that's about the peace symbol. Go into the assignment. Assignment 2. If you go on the bottom here, there's this link, and it's talking about all of the symbols from modern protests. So here it goes through the umbrellas in Hong Kong. Hands up, that's a good one from Ferguson. You know, hands up, don't shoot. You know, that hasn't really been made into an iconic symbol yet. I think this is like 3 fingers. This is Bangkok. Gas masks in Turkey. You know, raised fist, so that's very common. Gay pride flag. So you have all these different symbols that are out there. Trayvon Martin, the hooded sweatshirt, the hoodie. So this is a good article to get inspired by. So there's a lot of good information that you can find out there. Sorry, there's a helicopter going over my head. So yeah, any other questions? Do you guys have any other questions?
No, thank you.
No questions.
So yeah, is this helpful? I want to make sure nobody's confused about the assignment.
Yes.
So we trace 3 times of the same symbol with the 3 different tools or different ones?
Pick 3 different symbols.
Okay, thank you.
So 3 different symbols, 3 different tools, just to get, you know, some practice into using the tools. And then a 4th symbol is something that you make up.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. And then this is due September 9th. So you basically have a week. And then we'll have as another critique, mostly on the final symbol. So we'll have a group critique that that's going to be very similar to the critique that you're doing with the design, your favorite design that you picked already. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, Discord's always available. I think I have some broken links in Canvas that I have to fix, so I'll fix those. And then tomorrow I'll have all the logos that you picked laid out. So you can pick one of those and give your critique on one of those. And that's it.
I actually have a question about our weekly, or if our Zoom meetings are weekly and if they're always going to be on this day at this time.
Yeah, they're going to be weekly. They're optional, like I said. I'll probably do them on Tuesday, actually. I don't know. Usually I do them on Tuesday or Thursday just because this class is always on a Tuesday and Thursday.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll probably do it on Tuesday next week. Yeah, so any other questions? Are there any questions about the class in general or anything else?
I just have one question about the assignment that we were doing with the uploading the logo that we picked that represents us. So I already did that, and so next part, I think you just might have explained this now, but I didn't see anything, like you haven't attached any of the logos that anyone sent in, so that's why I was trying to do the next assignment.
Yeah, I haven't done that part yet, but I'm gonna do it tomorrow morning. I'll bring all the logos together, and that'll be ready for you in the morning, because I wanted to make sure everybody had time to get them in by the deadline, which was today. So yeah, they'll be there for you tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
I have one more question for the fourth symbol. So are we going to create it with using only one tool, or we can combine the tools?
I want you to just kind of combine all the tools. But if you feel, if you feel comfortable with one tool, just go ahead and use one tool. Like if you feel like, oh, I really mastered the pen tool and I love it, that's fine. You can use the pen tool, but you try using all three and see what you can do.
Okay.
I just want you to get a hang of just using the tools in general. It takes time getting used to the pen tool, really. What you
But
do?
we are only like creating one symbol, right?
Yes,
Okay.
one symbol of your own creation. It's like I'm sorry, I'm like outside and I hear all these helicopters.
It's okay.
I don't know what's going on.
You in downtown?
No, I'm in Gardena.
Oh, okay.
But still, there's like, sometimes there's just like just crazy things happen, right? In general. So yeah, I don't know what's going on anyway. Like one night I was outside and there was a guy on top of the building of the car dealership, and the helicopters were telling him to get down and telling everybody to stay in their house, but anyways, I don't know. But yeah, so any other questions?
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay, hold on. Do you have to explain the fourth protest symbol? When we do the critique, that's when you'll explain it. So people are gonna critique your symbol, and they're gonna try to figure out what it means, right? And if the symbol is kind of confusing to them, then you can explain it. So yeah, you don't have to give me an explanation when you hand the assignment in, but most likely you'll explain it during the critique. So that's, yeah. So the thing to think about when you, and this is something that you'll think about more from a design standpoint, is your design understandable to somebody else? So that's kind of an important thing. Right now in the beginning, it's something that it's going to take time for you to really create designs that are understandable. So you don't be too caught up in it at first, but ultimately you should be thinking about, is that design going to be readable to the general public? Do they understand what you're trying to convey? And now I hear a weird animal out here. Sorry. Take a look. So anyways, so yeah, you can, in the critique it will come out. Is there anything else?
No.
No other questions. So you said this video is going to be uploaded to Canvas. Do we have to reference back anything?
Yeah, I'm going to upload this to, this will be uploaded, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'm switching, this is me outside now. See how dark it is? So I'll do this from inside next time. I thought it'd be nice to do it outside. So anything else? Any other questions?
No.
All right, is everybody good then? So So thank you for your introductions. I thought those were really great. It really helps me. You know, it's hard to get to know everybody when you're doing this asynchronous style distant learning, but those introductions are really nice and I appreciate them. And yeah, so work on the assignment too. Send me questions through Discord. Next week, I might do this on Tuesday. I'll let you guys know. And then I'll upload this video. And then if you have if you need help with anything else, just let me know through Discord and I'll get back to you right away.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a
Bye.
good night, everybody. Okay. Thank you.
Night.
All right. Bye.
Bye.